Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the special edition of Appna Zoom webinar. I am Dr. Haroon Durrani, Secretary of Appna and President-elect of Appna next year. With me today are the members of the Executive Committee of Appna, and I'm going to introduce them first. Dr. Naheed Usmani, President of Appna. Dr. Rizwan Khalid, President-elect. Dr. Naseem Shekhani, immediate past president, and Dr. Arshad Rehan, who is a treasurer. We also have chair board of trustees, Dr. Asif Rahman. Today, we are very excited at the opportunity to learn about Prime Minister Imran Khan's and State Bank of Pakistan first ever initiative to allow non-resident Pakistanis to digitally open and operate a banking account from the comfort of our homes and offices, also known as Roshan digital account. I am going to read a small disclaimer. Appna being 5013 non-profit organization, the webinar we are holding today is for community awareness purposes only. Association of Pakistani Physicians of North American descent is not endorsing any financial products. Attendees must make their own determination on the suitability of any financial product discussed today, and they should obtain the appropriate advice from their financial and legal advisor if they need any such advice. To introduce the concept, we have a panel of distinguished guests headed by none other than Honorable Governor of State Bank of Pakistan, Dr. Raza Bakir himself. Dr. Bakir was appointed to this prestigious post in May 2019, following an illustrious 20 years career with IMF and World Bank. He went to University of California at Berkeley and Harvard. I also welcome Dr. Syed Murtaza, Deputy Governor, who also worked with IMF for 16 years prior to joining State Bank of Pakistan. We are also joined by Syed Irfan Ali, Executive Director, State Bank of Pakistan, and other senior members of State Bank. It is our extreme pleasure, and we are equally honored with the presence of 7 chief executives of the top banks of Pakistan, and I will name them. Mr. Muhammad Maqbool, President and CEO of Muslim Commercial Bank. Mr. Muhammad Aurangzeb, President and CEO Habib Bank Limited. Mr. Irfan Siddiqui, President and CEO of Mizan Bank. Mr. Atif Bajwa, President and CEO of Bank Al-Falah. Mr. Yusuf Hussain, President and CEO of Faisal Bank Limited. Mr. Shahzad Dada, President and CEO of United Bank Limited, and Mr. Shahid Sattar, President and CEO of Samba Bank Limited. Appna is thankful to Muslim Commercial Bank, its Chief Executive, Mr. Imran Maqbool, and Group Head, Retail Banking, Zargham Khan Durrani, for helping us organize this very important discourse together with State Bank of Pakistan. Gentlemen, welcome all. To all our attendees, thank you very much for taking time out and joining this webinar. Please feel free to post any questions on the chat group, and I will encourage all the panelists to please try to answer the questions as we go, as we may not have enough time to take all those questions. And we will also make sure that all the questions on the chat box, as well as we have received numerous questions via emails from the registrants, we will send it to the State Bank of Pakistan for individual answers of those questions. Let's start the program. I will request our President, Dr. Naheed Usmani, for opening remarks. Madam President.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I want to welcome Dr. Raza Bakir, Governor, State Bank of Pakistan. And I would also like to inform him my husband is an alumnus of both Harvard and Berkeley. And we lived in Cambridge. My first year in US was on Peabody Terrace as he was going through graduate school at Harvard. I want to welcome all the distinguished leaders of Pakistani banks to this community awareness webinar. Appna represents more than 18,000 physicians of Pakistani descent in USA and Canada. And over the past 43 years, Appna has been a bridge of strong engagement between US and Pakistan. Appna has a very strong mission of philanthropy, education, healthcare, and advocacy. In 2020, Appna has raised more than $1 million for COVID relief and has helped provide food, personal protective equipment, and oxygen supplies to affected people and healthcare workers, not only in US and Canada, but largely in Pakistan and all over Pakistan. We also are beaming daily lectures to Pakistani medical educations on management of COVID, on development of primary care, on developing many other important fields like emergency medicine. I'm very happy about this community webinar, but for anything to be successful, there has to be a sustained engagement. While Appna does not endorse, any financial product, but I would like to welcome all the banking leadership. And if they are interested, Appna website is a very useful tool for them to advertise their particular bank, and you can reach the central Appna to see if you're interested in putting your banking information as an advertisement on our website. I think that would allow Americans to easily contact the banks, and it'll be a nice platform. So thank you very much. I welcome again all the distinguished panel. Thank you so much, Harun, for allowing me to go first.
Thank you. Thank you, Naheed. Now to learn more about this exciting opportunity, I will invite the Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, Dr. Raza Bakir, for his opening remarks.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dr. Naheed Sahiba, Dr. Harun Durrani Sahab, Zargham Durrani Sahab, and Sayyid Irfan Ali. I want to particularly thank all of you at the very beginning for helping us to organize this event. I believe this is the first time in the history of Appna and the State Bank, as well as for the commercial banks represented here, that we are having such a community webinar. I want to welcome in particular the CEOs of the major banks of Pakistan who are with you today. And I want to welcome the senior officers of the State Bank who are here with you today, led by our Deputy Governor Murtaza Sayyed Sahab, as well as others who we will introduce to you shortly. I want to begin, first of all, by talking about why we are organizing this event. And I want to start by talking about Appna. And Appna is an organization that I think all of overseas Pakistanis know about, particularly those who live in the US. And for us at the State Bank, it is an important organization, not only from say an immediate parochial perspective, that it's a community of Pakistanis who are doing well in the US and therefore are a source of remittances to the country. But in a far more important way, Appna represents some of the best of what Pakistan is about. Because the physicians that are members of Appna and the interactions that you have with the people, the patients in the United States, the manner in which you excel in the work that you do, you make the country proud. And that, first and foremost, is the reason for us to organize this event with you. We salute all the hard work and all the good recognition that you are bringing to our country in the US. And I want to tell you right at the very beginning that this is the primary reason that we are organizing this event with you. I want to give special credit to Zargham Durrani Sahab and Sayyid Irfan Ali, who thought of this idea and have helped to put this together. Some of us who are with you today have a particular connection with you as the overseas Pakistanis. Myself, our Deputy Governor Murtaza Sayyid Saab, many of the bank presidents who are with you today, all of us have been overseas Pakistanis. So we know what it's like to not be in the country. It is a policy of this government to try to make a greater connection, try to facilitate overseas Pakistanis. Within this broader objective, the role of the state bank has to do with how we can make the financial system of Pakistan more accessible to overseas Pakistanis. What we are bringing to you today is something that has never been done in the history of Pakistan. A few months ago, on the directions of our Prime Minister, we teamed up with the major banks of Pakistan, the 7 that are here with you today and one more, to come up with something that would make for a better connection between overseas Pakistanis and our financial system. And we did a couple of things that, as I mentioned, have never been done before. The first was to provide a regulatory framework that allows a overseas Pakistani to open an account remotely and digitally in one of the leading banks in Pakistan without having to visit any bank office, any embassy, or any consulate to have to attest any document. Second, we provided the regulatory framework to make these accounts repatriable. Repatriable means that such accounts, when the owner of these accounts wishes to take the funds back, there are no questions asked from the state bank and no permissions needed from the state bank. Now, we did these two things, as I mentioned, to provide for a better connection and a channel between the Pakistani diaspora and the financial system of Pakistan. And our view is that if we make it easier for people like yourselves to be connected financially to your country, you yourself will find ways in which this can be most useful to you. Once such a connection is established, there are many things that you can do that you could not have done beforehand. You can make bill payments. We have provided investment opportunities in saving certificates issued by the government of Pakistan. We have also provided online access to you, to the stock market, and down the line to the real estate market. And all of this is being done digital. And the goal of all of this is for the state bank and for the banks in Pakistan to make for a better connection, a better financial connection between you as the Pakistani diaspora and Pakistan. We are hosting this event. We partnered with Appna to do this event because the Physicians Association in Pakistan is a particularly well-organized and large group of overseas Pakistanis. And we are doing similar events with other associations as well to try to get the message out as to what is this new way of connecting to Pakistan that has been made available to you. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about our banks. Pakistan's financial system, despite COVID, has been one of the strongest in the world. Our net non-performing loans ratio, which is total non-performing loans ratio, less the provisions that the banks have made, is 2%. I used to work at the IMF before joining the State Bank of Pakistan, and this is one of the lowest ratios that I ever encountered in more than 20 emerging markets that I have worked on. Moreover, unlike many of the countries in the region, when COVID struck and some of the banks in other countries have experienced financial distress, in Pakistan, we haven't had any such cases. And in fact, a point that the State Bank has made in some of its recent investor briefings is that despite COVID, many of our financial indicators are actually stronger than they were before the beginning of the recent reform program last year. So another message that I have for the Pakistani diaspora is that at the State Bank, we are very confident that our economic outlook is going to steadily improve. Yes, there can be bumps along the way, but based upon some of the institutional reforms that have been undertaken on the part of the government, on the part of the State Bank, we see things steadily improving. And I do want to bring to the attention of all the participants of this community event that when you look at how Pakistan provided a policy response to COVID, first dimension is public health. And as you as physicians would know, that if you look at the number of cases per capita or the number of fatalities per capita, Pakistan is far better than most countries in the world right now. And the credit for this goes to the policymakers who organized the response to COVID. It is far from over. We, like everybody else, has to worry about second waves, but it's much better to be dealing with the second wave than not having finished the first wave to begin with. Second, if you look at our economic indicators and you look at the most recent indicators of exports, of industrial production, of car sales, you will see that the economy is beginning to turn around. Again, much faster than some of the countries in the region. At the State Bank, we provided many stimulus measures in partnership with the banks. And our goal was to provide sufficient liquidity in the market so that liquidity problems don't become solvency problems. And you will see, and you would have seen in recent weeks, how the sentiment has also strengthened. One aspect which everybody in Pakistan measures how sentiment is improving is the exchange rate. We moved from a fixed to a market-based exchange rate last year. For the first time in the history, you see two-way movement in the exchange rate in an orderly manner. And you would have seen in the last 2-3 weeks that the exchange rate has also been strengthening on rising and improving market sentiment. So my message at the beginning to all the participants is that as a central bank, we are quite optimistic about steady improvement in our economic fortunes. As a central bank, we are also prepared to deal with any risks. COVID was the biggest shock that Pakistan has experienced since independence. It's the biggest shock that the global economy has experienced since World War II. As overseas Pakistanis, you should be proud as the way Pakistan has been coming out of it. And because the economic authorities have demonstrated how they have been able to deal with this shock, gives us confidence that the policymakers here are also well prepared to deal with any other shocks that may come our way as well. I want to end my message at the beginning here. Our goal in this event is to make ourselves available to you. That's why we've organized not only the senior leadership at the State Bank, but also the heads of our commercial banks to be with you today. After I finish, the head of the Pakistan Banks Association, who is also the president and CEO of Habib Bank, Aurangzeb Saab, is going to give his remarks. And after that, our deputy governor, who has led the State Bank team to bring this product to you, Dr. Murtaza Sayyed, is going to walk you through what it is. And then we are very, very much open and looking forward to your questions. Before I close, I just want to say one thing, which is that at the State Bank, we have tried to put a lot of information on our website, as well as to use social media to reach out to you. So do follow us on Twitter, because on Twitter, we post everything directly, including daily exchange rates. And I know many of you have concerns when you send money, what is the rate at which it's converted? Well, if you follow us on Twitter, if nothing else, You will get the daily closing rate of the market as determined by the State Bank of Pakistan. And you will also get all the information about Roshan digital accounts, Naya Pakistan certificates, and other aspects of our financial system. Thank you.
Harun, you are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
I just did. Sorry
you.
about that. Next, I'm going to request Mr. Muhammad Aurangzeb. He's a chairman of Pakistan Banks Association. He's also president and CEO of Habib Bank Limited to briefly give his remarks.
Thank you, Raisa. Dr. Naheed, Governor Bakir. On behalf of the banking sector and all my peers who are on the call right now, it's a great pleasure and indeed a unique honor to welcome you all to this webinar to unveil this fantastic initiative designed especially for your convenience and ease of doing business in Pakistan. The Roshan Digital Account is a groundbreaking initiative, as Governor Bakir mentioned, of the State Bank of Pakistan in collaboration with 8 commercial banks to provide innovative end-to-end digital banking solution for millions of non-resident Pakistanis residing across the globe. And as he mentioned earlier, this initiative is actually very close to some of our hearts, including myself. I returned to Pakistan in 2018 after spending about 18, 19 years working with European and US banking houses. And I know how the community used to think about accessing banking services in Pakistan. Very difficult, to put it very mildly. And what we have here is a very effective response in the form of a simple and convenient way of opening accounts from the comfort of your homes or offices, no hassle of visiting the branches, providing digital access to all conventional accounts, and equally importantly, if not more importantly, is the lifestyle services, including funds transfer, bills and fee payments, mobile top-ups, e-commerce at a click of a button, which we all do in our sort of day-to-day activity. Now, in addition to carrying out your day-to-day banking services, what this initiative does, it offers multiple avenues for investments, including Naya Pakistan certificates, which, as you have seen, and the advertising has started now coming out, these are very compelling rates. Also, as the governor mentioned, investment in local securities market via the CDC, and the real estate market via Defense Housing Authority and other established real estate developers. I do want to, for 10 seconds also request you to look at the big picture, because this initiative taken by the State Bank and the government of Pakistan signifies a real paradigm shift in revolutionizing the way in which banking is done in Pakistan. With this groundbreaking initiative where we are all requesting and asking for your active support and help, Pakistan is a step closer to digitizing its financial sector and moving towards a digital Pakistan, inshallah. In closing, I would like to say on behalf of the banking industry, but certainly on behalf of all the banking CEOs who are on the call right now, that we are very committed to help, facilitate, assist, support in providing you a great client experience, inshallah, as we move forward with Roshan Digital Account. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Aurangzeb, Chairman, Pakistan Banks Association. Next is a presentation by Deputy Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, Syed Murtada. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Durrani. Thank you, Dr. Usmani, and thank you to all the colleagues at Appna who were involved in organizing this event. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. If I may be allowed to share my screen, I just have a very short presentation. It'll only take me 10 minutes. I just wanted to walk you through a little bit how exactly this initiative works. So the way that we have conceived of this scheme, it basically has two very important pillars. The first pillar, as you have heard from the governor and Aurangzeb Saab, is that for the first time ever, we are allowing customers in Pakistan to open an account online without visiting a bank branch or a government office. This was not possible before. The regulations did not allow it. And for overseas Pakistanis, we are starting with them, and we are allowing a totally presence-less experience. You don't have to go to any bank branch. You don't have to have any documents attested. You can just do everything online, sitting in your home, sitting in your office. The accounts that are available through the Roshan Digital Account Initiative are available both in Pakistani rupee as well as in foreign exchange. And these can be opened in all major currencies, including the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, the pound, euros, all the major currencies. And indeed, you're able to open as many accounts as you want. You can open a Pakistani rupee one, you can open a euro one, you can open a US dollar one. There is no bar. And I will show you in a second how exactly you are to open the account. And I hope you will agree with us that we have tried to simplify it as much as is possible, keeping in mind international standards of security. And once all of the information is entered, and this only takes about 15 to 20 minutes if everything is going smoothly, our promise is, together with the banks, that your account should be opened within 48 hours. The second important pillar of this scheme is that once you've opened the account, we are trying to make a lifestyle suite of products available to you. This means that you can perform all the normal banking activities in Pakistan, including wire transfers, e-commerce, paying bills. But in addition, we are making some investment opportunities available for the first time exclusively for overseas Pakistanis. And this includes, as I will talk to you in a second, and Aurangzeb Saab also hinted at, a very attractive new government bond that is aimed towards overseas Pakistanis, offering very high risks of return, very high rates of return. And these bonds are, of course, risk-free because they carry the guarantee of the government. And as the governor said in his remarks, we have also put in place all the regulatory provisions to allow the funds that you invest into these accounts to be repatriated anytime you want without needing any approval or any paperwork. So what is the way to open an account? How do you open a Roshan digital account? Well, the easiest thing to do is to actually visit the State Bank's website. I've given you the URL over here, but if you don't want to scribble it down, the easiest thing to do is just to go to Google and type in Roshan digital account State Bank. And one of the first sites that will come up is indeed this site. The second way in which you can do it is, of course, go to the State Bank website, and very prominently, one of the things that we're advertising right at the top, and I'll show this to you in a second, is the Roshan digital account. And you'll see a very prominent banner for it. Once you're on the website, it's very prominent. You can actually click on one of the 8 participating bank logos, and that will take you straight to their bank portals. You can choose any one of these. And as you can see, we have tried to cover Pakistan's major banks, the ones with the best online systems, the ones with the greatest presence outside Pakistan. Those are the 8 banks that we have chosen as part of the initial round. Going forward, we fully intend to also extend this to other banks in Pakistan. So how does this actually work? If I can just give you a quick demonstration. If you go to the website, you will see a number of sections. You will see a special message from the governor. But on the right, as you scroll down this page, you will also see a section that is quite clearly labeled how to open an account. And if you click on any one of these bank logos, it will take you straight to the bank portal, and there you can start entering your information. This is a secure site, so you don't need to worry about security. And indeed, all the bank portals also have top-class security. So that's how you actually open an account. What kind of information and documents should you have ready? We have tried to streamline this as much as possible. And you will see that although different banks obviously have slightly different looking forms, in terms of the information that is asked for, it is not very complicated at all. Some basic information about your name, your place of birth, your passport number, your nationalities, some contact information, and also what your profession is, your source of your income, and existing bank account details, since the money that you will remit into the Roshan digital account will have to come through banking channels. In terms of the documents that you will have to have ready, you will of course need your passport. You will need to have some way of showing that you are indeed a non-resident Pakistani. You will need to show a proof of profession and source of income. And this is very, very simple. There's a variety of documents you can use for this. For example, if you happen to be self-employed, you can use a business registration document. If you're working somewhere, you can show a bank account statement, you can show an employment letter, salary slip, very, very simple kind of documents. You can also, of course, to show who you are, have to take a live photo and digital signature. If all of this goes well, it takes no more than 15 or 20 minutes on the bank portals to be able to get through this stage. Once you've opened the account, what are the kinds of things that you can do with the account? As I said, the first thing you can do is perform all kinds of normal banking transactions that you would do if you were even living in Pakistan. You can pay all kinds of bills for your families living here. You can do e-commerce. You also get debit cards to go with your accounts and ATM cards that you can use anywhere. The second thing that you can do, which is very exciting, and these are now investment opportunities, is you can invest in a special government bond, which I will talk to you in a minute about, which offers excellent risk-free returns, both in dollars as well as in Pakistani rupees, depending upon your preference. And these are also now available from Friday in Sharia compliant forms. So for those listeners who want to go down the Islamic banking route, there is also a way in which you can invest in the Naya Pakistan certificates that is 100% Sharia compatible. You are also able, through the Roshan digital account, to invest in Pakistan stock market. As many of you might know, last year, Pakistan stock market was among the best performing markets in the world. Right now, as we come out of COVID as well, the Pakistani stock market, reflecting the recovery that the economy is undergoing, is booming, and there is a lot of positive sentiment. So through these accounts, you can also invest in stocks. And something that is that we are very, very excited about is you can also start buying property in Pakistan, both residential as well as commercial, through these Roshan digital accounts. So let me very quickly just walk you through those three investment opportunities. The Naya Pakistan certificates are special government bonds that are administered by the state bank and carry the full backing and sovereign guarantee of the Pakistani government. They're available in different tenors. For those people who'd rather just come in for very short periods, we have a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month option. For those who want to lock in the excellent rates for longer, there's also a 3-year and a 5-year option. And early encashment, in case you need the money back, that is also allowed. The returns that we are offering on the US dollar bills are between 5.5% and 7% annualized, depending on whether you're going for a 3-month or a 5-year. So that's the span of the returns that are available. If you compare this to almost any other sovereign bond out there, especially if you compare it to what is available in the US right now, these rates are very, very attractive. If you want to invest in the rupee version of these Naya Pakistan certificates, the rate is a little bit higher, between 9.5% and 11%, depending on whether you're investing at the short end or the longer end. I think you will all agree that these rates of return, especially since they are risk-free, are very, very attractive. For an overseas Pakistani, we have also simplified the tax that will accompany these Naya Pakistan certificates. There'll be no tax filing required, and there'll just be a 10% withholding tax on the profit applied. That will be full and final, and that's it. You have no other tax obligations. As I said, we also have a Sharia compliant version of these bills. So for those who would rather go the Islamic banking way, this is also an option. And of course, as with these accounts more generally, you can remit your money back to America or Canada, wherever you happen to live, anytime you want. How does the stock market investment option work? It's also very simplified. When you open your Roshan digital account, at the same time, you can give the bank your consent to share your information with the Central Depository Corporation, which is a corporation that offers custodial and settlement services on the stock market. There's no need for any additional form filling or anything. You just have to tick a box and you can get your brokerage account started. You can pick a broker. Pakistan's best brokers are on offer. You can choose any one of them. And then you can go ahead and buy and sell stocks just the way you do in the US. And the settlement happens through CDC at the back end. It's not something you need to worry about. You just need to inform your broker, and the customer has to also give the bank the instructions, and the settlement happens. Again, as a more general feature of these accounts, you can repatriate your money anytime you want, and you can liquidate your investments. Property is something that we are very excited about. This is also being made available for the first time to overseas Pakistanis through these digital accounts. DHA, the Defense Housing Authority, which is of course one of Pakistan's most prominent housing authorities, has already integrated with the banks, and they have gone live. And you can visit the DHA portals. You can choose the plot you want to buy. You can pay either outright or by installments. And when it comes time to paying, you can actually pay with your Roshan digital account. If you don't want to go through a housing association and you want to have a direct transaction, that is also allowed. You just have to have the property valued. You need to have a sale agreement, and then it works exactly the same way. You go in and you can pay with your Roshan digital account. Let me just quickly tell you how it works if you're renting and then selling the property. If you're renting, all you need is a rental agreement. You need some identity documents from the tenant, and the payment has to be made to your Roshan digital account from your tenant's bank account. When it comes time to sell, you again need to have a valuation done to be able to show that the sale is being conducted properly. And in terms of the principal that you have invested into the property, let's say you paid a million rupees for it, or you have rental income that is being generated, you can redeploy that in Pakistan or repatriate that amount anytime you want out of Pakistan. Any capital gains that you make, any gain that you make, let's say you bought it for $1 million and then you're selling it for $2 million, that extra $1 million can be redeployed in Pakistan anytime. But if you want to take away that extra $1 million back to North America, you have to wait a period of 3 years. But you can redeploy that profit in Pakistan anywhere you want, particularly, let's say you wanted to buy Naya Pakistan certificates with that, you could do that. So that's how property works. Let me just quickly end on how we are trying to ensure, together with the banks, that this Roshan digital account initiative really meets the highest bar possible and that the user experience is very good. The banks are committed to having live customer support. They have constant customer engagement. They have complaint helplines and emails. They report to us on a daily basis. The governor sees the report. I see the report. All the bank CEOs see the reports that they're making on the number of accounts that are being opened, the time that is being taken to open the accounts, and any complaints that the customers are giving them. On the state bank side, we also have a special monitoring unit. We have our own complaint email and helpline. We are engaging with the banks. We are looking at social media. We are soliciting feedback from the diaspora and passing it on to the banks to make sure that any teething issues are quickly addressed. And here, I would just like to highlight that we have a special email box, rda support@sbp.org.pk, where you can also write to us directly to give us any feedback or to point out any issues you may be having with opening the accounts. From time to time, we also disseminate publicly how many accounts have been opened, the size of the inflows. You will have seen recently, there was a tweet from the Prime Minister announcing that within about 6 weeks of this initiative, we've already been able to open close to 25,000 accounts. Let me just end then with pointing out a couple of useful resources. We will of course share this with Appna as well, and maybe through the website, as Dr. Usmani was saying, we can also put some of these things on. There are 2 websites that you need to know about in particular. There is the Roshan Digital Account website, and there's also the Naya Pakistan Certificates website that we just went live with today. Let me just give you a sense of what that looks like. If you click on that link or you go to our website, you will also see it on the banners. This tells you more information about the government bond that I was talking about, how you can invest in it, what the rates of return are, and also have some frequently asked questions. Another interesting resource that you could try out, as the governor was saying, is that we are very active on social media. We have our own Twitter, we have our own Facebook, we have our own YouTube. Our Twitter handle is statebank_PAK. We would encourage you to follow us. You can also follow us on Facebook. And on YouTube, we have our own channel where there's a variety of videos that you can see on the Roshan Digital Account initiative. And finally, there are some brochures that we've put together. There's a TV commercial. Again, you can see this on our YouTube. There's a governor message, especially for overseas Pakistanis, and there's a question and answers video as well that you can access through the YouTube channel. Let me just give you a quick sense of what the brochures look like. We'll also share these with the Appna team. We have one for the Roshan Digital Account, and we also have one for the Naya Pakistan certificates. These are also WhatsAppable. We can also send you these through WhatsApp, and we would encourage you to please let your families and friends who are also living abroad know about this initiative for us to be able to get the word around. Thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. I hand it back to you, Dr. Harun.
Thank you very much, Dr. Murtaza. Now we are going to have a question and answer session. And I can see in the chat group, we are already hundreds of questions are already posted there. We are not going to be able to get to those questions. Some of those questions are being answered as we go. The questions we will direct it to the governor, Dr. Bakir, and he may choose to answer himself or ask one of his expert panelists to answer this question. To start our questions, I will ask Dr. Asif Rahman, who is the chair board of trustees of Appna, to pose the first question.
Thank you, Harun. I want to thank everyone for joining Sunday, and particularly the guests from Pakistan. I'm asking this question on behalf of me and memberships. I know that if you open a Roshan bank account, and you have mentioned bank card and debit card, is there any possibility of having a credit card where we can add our name or our family's name, and which can be used for shopping here or while visiting in Pakistan? And second brief question is that you already went through that using a Roshan bank account and buying property there, and after we sell it and the profit can not be transferred for 3 years, but it can be invested in Pakistan. Is there any open channel where you can, not for property, but for other businesses, you can transfer funds to Pakistan and you use it, and whatever is left, or you do any other transaction, that money can be transferred back? The way I know that there are a few banks in US who have branches in Pakistan. Can we have access to those accounts while in Pakistan and here, and money can travel both ways, back and forth? Thank you.
Okay.
Whoever wants to answer that.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Bakir.
Ji, I'll ask Murtaza Saab to please address the questions on the Roshan Digital accounts, and also would encourage any of the bank presidents if they would like to add anything after Murtaza Saab at any time, because we want to make the best use of their time as well. And I think it'll be comforting for all the audience to hear from the different bank presidents as well, to hear from you as well. So Murtaza Saab, first to you, and then to any of the bank presidents if they would like to add anything.
Thank you very much for those questions. Let me just say on the credit card, yes, that is part of what we are hoping to do as we go forward. Right now, we are more focused on the ATM and the debit cards, but as I said, the facility will be there to be able to use these anywhere in the world. So the full intention is that these cards should be usable not just in Pakistan, but also, wherever you happen to live or where you're traveling. And credit cards is indeed the next horizon. I think there was another question that you had about whether it's possible when you send the money to Pakistan to be able to take it out anytime and to be able to do whatever you want within Pakistan with it. Sure, that's exactly the intention behind these accounts. Any money that you send in that is not for property, and property, being a very specific asset class, that is why we have restricted the profit on that property to remain in Pakistan for 3 years. But anything else that you do with the money, you can repatriate that anytime. So there is, the ease with which you will send money into those accounts, you will have the exact same ease in terms of taking it out. That is our commitment.
Okay.
If I may add, Murtaza Saab, all the debit cards which the banks are issuing are Visa or MasterCard. So the only difference between credit card and debit card obviously is that you need to have money in your account to spend it, but it's used internationally. Thank you.
Let me also add, since Irfan Saab intervened, that I believe the first Islamic Naya Pakistan certificate was sold to an overseas Pakistani on Friday, I believe. So if I'm getting that wrong, my apologies. But we had a little event with that Irfan Saab asked us to organize, where the first such was purchased by a overseas Pakistani in Bahrain. I also want to take the opportunity here because I've been watching the chat box myself, and my colleagues will tell you that I'm taking a particularly keen interest in the progress with Roshan digital accounts, and I get a report every night on the progress and bank level performance indicators as well. One of the gentlemen asked a question that some Pakistani banks have had a history of being insolvent. So what comfort do the account holders have that when they open an account in these banks that their money would be safe? Wanted to just give you background that the 8 banks that the State Bank has partnered with are banks where, first of all, the State Bank made an assessment about their financial soundness, and then also about the soundness of their digital platforms. And there was a committee that was formed comprising several agencies, and that's how these 8 banks were onboarded. The additional banks that are also being onboarded go through the same process as well. So while there is a risk with any financial investment or transaction at the State Bank side, because we are creating a new brand called Roshan Digital Account, it's most in our interest to ensure that the experience of the users of this new brand is positive. And that's why we have these internal checks and balances. So I want to address that question as well that I saw on the chat.
Very good. I will ask Dr. Naheed Usmani for her question.
Dr. Bakir, you answered the question I was going to ask about the safety of overseas Pakistani, deposit in Pakistan. As you know, Pakistan foreign currency accounts were frozen in 1998 by one government. How is it going to be protected? My second question, that is very personal, is, and I think it affects a lot of expat Pakistanis, we have inherited properties in Pakistan that we need to dispose of because the chances of us returning to Pakistan are low. We are US citizens and we live here, and we need to dispose of those properties, sell them. How can State Bank and Roshan Digital Account help with those particular transactions? If we successfully sell a property, how do we get that into an account there and later on either invested in Pakistan or transferred to US, to whatever an individual wants?
Thank you, Dr. Naheed. On your first question, I want to answer this by simply saying that at any point that you want to invest in Pakistan's future, it's a call that is being made. People rightly think about the time when the accounts were frozen. But people also have to take into account what were the circumstances at that time that led to that development. And it's my view that the circumstances that we are in right now and the circumstances that we look at in the future are fundamentally different. We have our reserves right now, which have been strengthened despite the fact that we got COVID, and while also repaying government debts. Now, our reserves right now are more than 3 months of import cover, which is the internationally recognized metric of adequate reserve coverage. Lastly, I think, if anything, the policymakers of this country have learned that never ever to entail the costs of that episode, because wherever the policymakers of this country go, they're always told, well, remember that this was done, so many years ago. So I want to come back again to the idea that at the State Bank of Pakistan, we are fundamentally convinced of the idea that the way you promote engagement with the diaspora is to give them the comfort that their accounts are repatriable. That's why we did this. There are lots of people in Pakistan who would say, don't make accounts repatriable. Make it easy to bring money in, make it very hard to take money out. We were of the view that you first need to make it easy to take money out. And I would encourage you, if you are interested, to test the system. That's why the shortest maturity on the Naya Pakistan certificates is 3 months. That gives 5.5% in US dollars. Test it. See if you can bring it in and take it out. If you like it, by all means, do whatever you would like to do with it. We are providing a channel, and it's up to people what they want to do with it. And we just want to give that opportunity. Even if people do not want to invest, but the convenience that a relative of yours sends you an electricity bill by WhatsApp, and you can go onto your portal and pay it for your parents or your uncle or something. We think that that convenience, if anybody benefits from that, is worth all the effort that we are undertaking right now to connect the diaspora. And your other question, I think, is specific to inheritance, which is a different issue, an issue that has come to us from other quarters. Arshad Bhatti Saab was with us, and he is the director of our exchange policy department. I'll ask him to give a very brief answer, and then Dr. Naheed, we're happy to follow up separately with you as well. And also, let me make this offer to you. Since Appna represents thousands of Pakistani physicians, and as I mentioned right at the beginning, this, along with many other communities, are communities that are making Pakistan proud. We are happy to set up a mechanism at the State Bank and provide you a point of contact so that we can facilitate any issues that come through Appna of physicians in Pakistan, issues related to foreign exchange and trying to either bring money in or taking it out of Pakistan. So Arshad Saab, on this issue of inheritance and if a certain person is living abroad, how can they take those funds out?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your question. इस वक्त जो position है policy की वो ये है कि inheritance of deceased property can be taken out through a court order. तो उसमें अगर ऐसे वरसा जो कि buyer NRP का status रखते हैं, वो एक court order के जरिए अपने बैंक के through specific इजाज़त उन्हें चाहिए होती है State Bank से to take out those funds. But we are working on a general policy in future where we would be able to shape some sort of policy जहाँ उन्हें हमारे पास आने की जरूरत नहीं हो. तो अभी पोजीशन ये है.
Very good. Very good. Anyone else wants to add anything? In that case, we'll go to our next questioner, Dr. Rizwan Khalid. He is the president-elect this year, and he will be the president of Appna next year. He is visiting his family in Pakistan, and he is joining us from Pakistan. Rizwan, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and a warm welcome to all our guests, Governor Bakir Saab, Murtaza Saab, and all the CEOs and chair of various banks from Pakistan. We really appreciate you taking the time, and all the attendees. We had an excellent response here. So I'm very glad that you are answering, and this particular conversation should continue, and hopefully we will continue. So my question is a question that was sent to me by one of our Appna members, and I will read it to you. They are Appna members who have previously sent foreign exchange to Pakistan, not through the Roshan digital program, obviously, but through other programs. They have repatriated money to Pakistan in foreign exchange, and they may or may not have an account in foreign exchange in Pakistan. Now, if they open a Roshan digital account, will they be able to repatriate previously sent money, not through the Roshan program, but another program, back to the US, and what are the ramifications? Thank you.
Perhaps either Arshad Saab or Murtaza Saab could address this. Ji.
Murtaza Saab.
जी थैंक यू जी अर्शद साहब आप बताइए
थैंक यू सर राइट नाउ जो रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट है उसमें फंड सिर्फ बाहर से आ सकते हैं और वापस जा सकते हैं but the funds that you are talking about, these have been received prior to the opening of RDS. So currently any local deposit is not allowed in RDS. Going forward, perhaps if our FX situation improves, we might consider any further policy change. But right now, the RDAs and initiative which has been taken for non-resident Pakistanis, और ये एक इसके लिए हम अगर history में transactions को खोलेंगे तो then there would be lot of different ramifications for us. There could be other commingling of funds from local sources. So right now, the RDA is ring-fenced from this perspective that you cannot deposit funds from within Pakistan, but you can deposit funds from abroad. And you can invest from these funds and you can take out all sort of profits and disinvestment proceeds from here. So right now,
और उसकी दूसरी वजह ये है that if you don't have such a policy, that can lead to dollarization of the system, and we don't want that. We don't want people within Pakistan to suddenly begin to buy dollars because they want to create these accounts. One other clarification I'll provide is that these accounts are also available to resident Pakistanis जिन्होंने अपने assets बाहर declare किए हैं. And they can open the foreign currency version of the Roshan digital account. And they can bring in those funds in repatriable accounts, invest in their Pakistan certificates if they wish to. And because they are repatriable, they can take those funds out again without any permission from the state bank.
Very good. Next question I'm going to ask Dr. Arshad Rehan. He is the current treasurer, and he's going to be the secretary of Appna next year. Arshad?
Thank you very much, Harun, and thank you everybody for this wonderful talk. My question relates to the customer service issues. Ever since we announced this webinar, we've been getting feedback from quite a few people about the customer service issues that they're getting with these banks. So I'll have one comment. As you said, the state bank website leads to the individual banks, but the individual banks are not differentiating their products, like, wire transfer fees. What is one bank offering over another? What is their cost of issuing checkbooks, or their policy regarding debit cards or ATM cards? So I think that would be a good initiative if we could have comparative analysis of the different banks, what products are they offering. My other question is, which a lot of us have experienced, is when you transferred foreign exchange from here to Pakistan, the banks do not always, actually more often than not, they do not honor the interbank rate. And they will have their own rate, which is even actually less than the interbank rate. So is the state bank on these new accounts guaranteeing through these banks that the interbank rate would be honored? All the bank representative presidents are here. So, would like to hear from them. Would they honor the interbank rate, or are they still going to keep with their old policy? Thank you.
Very good question, Dr. Bakar.
Right. So maybe I can invite one of our bank president colleagues to weigh in on this question, since it pertains to the customer service experiences.
Sir, if you permit, can I?
DG, please.
Go ahead. Sir, there are two types of transfers which can come into Pakistan. One is in foreign currency itself. So obviously, if it's coming in US dollars, the account will be credited in US dollars. So there will be no element of exchange gain or loss on that. It's only when you transfer that dollar to pay your rupee bills, that time the transfer will happen. And I think all the banks, it's a very competitive environment. Banks are fully understanding that fact that if they do charge you a higher rate, they'll probably lose a customer. So I don't think any of these banks which are represented today would try to make undue spread on the exchange income. And I don't think, inshallah, you'll find that as a problem. So like I said, on dollars, you won't have a problem. And on rupee, it should be a normal buy and sell rate. In terms of customer service, obviously, the more you expect from us, the more we'll deliver, especially for this Roshan digital account, because State Bank is also monitoring this. We are also being extremely careful in terms of, that we do provide the best possible service to our RDA accounts. Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up to that, Harun, if you don't mind?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my thing would be like, it is the situation of being unpleasantly surprised. You remit funds there, or you pay your family's bills, and then you're surprised that, well, the spread was not what was the interbank rate. So would the state bank actually issue a regulation or ensure that the interbank rate is actually honored? Or otherwise, all banks, shouldn't they be putting on their websites if they honor the interbank rate, or what is their spread from the interbank rate, so that everybody could make informed decisions? Thank you.
Dr. Durrani, if you allow me.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Sir, for the question. Our regulations state that the banks have to inform the customer about the prevailing exchange rate it is using for the transaction online on the screen. So if you are carrying out or executing a transaction which involves foreign exchange conversion, for example, from US dollar to PKR or from PKR to US dollar, the bank has to show you the current exchange rate at that moment. The second requirement is that the banks cannot charge more than 50 paisa spread on sell by side. Sell by side means that if they are going to purchase foreign currency from me, or they are going to sell foreign currency for me, so they can have a spread of 50 paisa only. So this information has to be there on the website of the bank while you are transacting or executing the transaction. We have went through the websites of the banks, and few of the banks are not right now giving this sell by side phenomena, but the conversion rate is there. So I would urge my colleagues from the banks that they need to transparently disclose these two things while a customer executes transaction online. Thank you. This is the regulatory requirement.
Yeah, the same question was posed by many people. I think they have some type of experience in which the rate was not honored.
Let me come in. This is a question that comes up very often. Just like Arshad Saab ne kaha that we have some regulations out there, and we are monitoring this quite carefully as well. Our overall philosophy at the State Bank is to use transparency and competition to get competitive pricing to end users. That's going to be our first way to try to address this problem. As Jis tarah Arshad Saab keh rahe hain, these are the regulations we are monitoring. We will continue to do so. And we welcome initiatives on transparency as well, such as the banks putting on their website what is their rate. We are quite confident that using transparency and using competition, we can improve service quality for the customer. But I also do want to tell our guests that if we see that that is not sufficient, then we are ready to take more direct action, such as through regulation. But generally, it's better to rely on competition and transparency. But I do assure you, it's a very important area of concern, Arshad Saab, for the State Bank. We are going to be monitoring it. In fact, we are getting data. The other day, I had asked my colleagues to put together a table for me of all the fees that banks are charging on all the products. And I also requested for me to get information on the amount debited from the person in the US or any other country and the amount credited in Pakistan to get at the total cost that is entailed. So we are monitoring this, and as I mentioned, our approach as a first try will be competition and transparency. But if it doesn't work, if Arshad Saab, we are ready to take more actions as well. We do realize the basic proposition that this whole product is for the convenience of the end customer. And if that experience gets spoiled by such issues, we are not achieving our goals. So we are committed. It's a brand new product. We are also learning as we're going. This seminar partly is for this feedback. And our bank president friends are here as well. They also want this product to succeed. And sometimes they also may not know the specifics that may be happening. But I assure you, they are all fully vested in making this successful as well. Because once they have this link to you in the US, they can offer you many more products than the ones that are being offered right now. And there is, it's the concept that if you build it, it will come. That once you create this connection, it by itself leads to other opportunities to come about. But I want you to know, Arshad Saab, that we hear you. And you will see from us how we address this. And when we do take some action, you will also hear it on Twitter and Facebook and other sources.
Governor Bakar, if
Governor
I can
Sabi.
interrupt.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's hear from MCB, please, especially because they've helped to organize this event. Imran Saab.
Thank you, Governor Bakar, and thank you, Harun Durrani Saab. I just wanted to also answer the question with Mr. Arshad Rehan raised regarding the quality of service. I would like to state, sir, that all the 8 banks, they have dedicated their units, which are Roshan digital units, manned by middle to senior management. They have call centers which are running 24/7, answering the queries, taking the concerns, and obviously they are also doing the gap analysis. As you have seen it, this is an iconic initiative moving into a digital transformation of this banking industry in Pakistan. State Bank is closely guiding and monitoring this. The 8 banks, their CEOs and their senior management, they are actively engaged. They are learning, of course, but we are trying to give you the best service, because this not only is to attract Appna, but there's a national cause as well. And together with Appna, as well as from the banking side, from Pakistan, the objective is to give you a seamless service and at the same time serve the nation for the reason this Roshan digital account has been established, which is to bring your investment in Pakistan, to give you attractive returns, and to make you feel good that you can repatriate your funds at your own wish and at your own discretion. So while we are all here, all my colleagues from the 8 banks, 7 banks and 8, of course, we will be very happy to take your queries. We will be very happy to address it and to reach out. And at the same time, just a last add on that, on a very regular fortnightly basis, or at least once a month, we do conduct a state bank meeting as well, where the governor addresses it, follows it up in terms of the various milestones that we are all following to ensure that you get the best digitization experience when you open your account with Pakistani banks. Thank you, sir.
And perhaps the only other thing I'll add is a little bit of patience on the part of our overseas Pakistanis. This is a new thing. Remote and presence plus account opening has never been done in the history of Pakistan. Perhaps we underestimated the demand that would come. On average, 800 to 1,000 accounts are being opened a day. And banks are increasing the resources devoted to it. So a little bit of patience we will request of you. And Arshad Saab, one specific point I'll say to you is that I think we will consider internally in the State Bank your idea to put on our landing page a table of fees by bank in the interest of transparency. so that for the end user, they are facilitated, and it's only sharing the information that the bank is sharing in any event, but perhaps we can do that coordination and provide it in one place for everybody. So as one specific thing, we will look at it and consider it.
Sahab, if I could, Shahzad here, can I just say one thing regarding the fees and interbank rate?
You go ahead.
Please go ahead. And let me also, by way of introduction, mention that Shahzad Saab is now the president and CEO of UBL Bank, and previously was the president and CEO of Standard Chartered Bank. Ji Shahzad Saab.
Sir, आपने already जिक्र कर दिया on the interbank rate and spreads, and Bhatti साहब ने भी कह दिया. But I just wanted to forewarn, or just word of caution, that your bank in the US may be charging you a remittance, a clearing fee, remittance fee, which is beyond our control. So I would just encourage you, before check with your bank, whichever bank you're using in the US or any other jurisdiction you're working in, and do inquire about that, because that fee does not come to any of the local banks. It's a charge that the clearing bank takes for remitting the money. So I just wanted to raise that flag there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are almost running out of time. I'm told that there are almost approximately 400 participants on the Zoom, and nearly 8,000 people watched on the Facebook as well, which is phenomenal. Dr. Naseem Shekhani, who's an immediate past president, he had to leave. He was on call, and he asked me to pose this question. Why do we need so many documents to opening an account? And that my experience is as well. I was looking into that, how simple it is to open the account, and it asks several things, but it doesn't say that whether we need all of them, some of them, one of them, two of them. I think a clarification on that would be good.
Gee, I can answer that. If you go to our website, as Dr. Murtaza said, and you look at the frequently asked questions, you will see that for each of those categories, the documents that are required is or. If it is proof of residency, it's document A or document B or document C. And it states clearly on our website, if any of the banks that you're opening an account in is asking you for anything different, Murtaza Saab displayed an email address of RDA support at State Bank. It's also on that landing page. And please do write to us, because we would like to make sure that the service being provided is consistent with the standards that we've set. I'll ask Arshad Saab if he would like to add anything, but he will remember that this is the point that he and I discussed very clearly, that I want the word or and oblique stated very clearly in this table. Arshad Saab, would you like to add something?
Thank you, sir. Just for the sake of clarity, identity document should be there, and then any one document for proof of business and source of income. We have 23 documents enlisted, and this list is available on the website of banks also, and it is available on our website also. So I'll share with you the list also. It is available within the presentation that has been shared with you also.
Yeah, but just to clarify, for proof of income, only one document.
One document, yes.
Yeah. So as long as it is clearly says on the bank account, I went to one of the bank and opened it, and it didn't say that you need all of them, one of them. Anyway, so I think I want to go towards the closing. Dr. Naheed Usmani has one more question, followed by her closing remarks. And then I will ask Dr. Rizwan Khalid to just give his closing remark as well. Dr. Naheed Usmani.
Ji, thank you so much. This has been phenomenal. The quality of information, the transparency, the sincerity of your efforts is very, very visible to all the attendees who are listening it live on Facebook or are attending this meeting. Dr. Bakir, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your offer that you will assign a contact person at the State Bank for Appna. Appna I'm here speaking as President Appna, and as an organization, we are deeply involved in medical education and philanthropy in Pakistan. And we are there for Pakistan whenever a crisis hits. This year, we have, by the end of the year, we would have transferred more than $1 million or close to $1 million to Pakistan. I think one of the barriers that an organization in USA has, the time it takes. We don't have a bank account in Pakistan. It has been, previously we had one, but for some reason, because we didn't, the banking policies required people in Pakistan to operate it. We had to close it down. We don't have a bank in Pakistan. It would really help an organization like Appna that is very transparent, that is audited every year, that we need to have, if not Roshan digital account, but a very individualized account, both in rupees and in dollars, that we can operate from here, so that we don't have to pay money, wire transfer funds, etc., and go through our banks and cause delay when we need to use that money immediately. So I would really request your help in this, and thank you again for your offer.
Gee, Dr. Saiba, it'll be a pleasure. As you know, we reached out to Appna to organize this. We made ourselves available to you. We requested the bank presidents to make themselves available to you. We are reaching out to you, and it'll be our pleasure to work with you to resolve these issues as well. We have a point, we already have communication. We'll follow up on that, and inshallah, we will resolve that issue as well. I just want to ask Dr. Murtaza if he would also like to say anything at the end, because as our Deputy Governor, he's been leading the team. And if you have any further message, Dr. Saab, before Appna closes.
Thank you very much, Governor Saab. I just wanted to say that, I myself was an overseas Pakistani up until the beginning of this year. I spent many years outside. And one of my frustrations used to be the Pakistani banking system. Opening a banking account in Pakistan was very, very difficult. And I hope that, the listeners today and all the Appna members will agree that what we've tried to do today, it really is, groundbreaking. And, we've got much response that I think some of the bank portals may not have been sort of fully set up to be able to handle that kind of traffic. But as we've gone along, we've tried to learn. And I think your message, Governor Saab, to sort of be patient with this and to sort of stick with us, because we really are committed to this initiative. We want to make this really, really something that the overseas Pakistanis find useful. We want to increase the number of products that are offered through these accounts. And we really want to resolve any problems that people have. And we want to benefit from the feedback that we got, especially today. I think a lot of good ideas, but we really are in this for the long run. This is not just an initiative that we have launched and we're going to forget about it. This to us could be a real game changer, and we are committed to it. I think that's all I wanted to say about myself.
If you allow me, I also would just like to ask if Aurangzeb Saab, as chairman of Pakistan Banks Association, would like to say anything at the end as well.
Sure.
Hey, Governor Bakir, I think what has been said is very good feedback. We are on a journey. I think some of the views and ideas that have been shared with respect to, we've been noting that with respect to conversion rates, with respect to the turnaround times, etc., are well noted. But as I said right at the onset, we are very, very committed to be on with you on this journey. And I would absolutely echo what Dr. Murtaza just said. This is not about tomorrow. It's not about next month. It's not about even next year. This is how we're going to be doing business in Pakistan, inshallah, as we go forward. And we have all sort of brought ourselves forward, and you need to hold us accountable and responsible for this. And inshallah, we'll come up to your expectations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have received hundreds of questions. I mean, I have some printed over here. Many, many questions in the chat and also on the Facebook. We will try to collect all those questions, and I think we will send it to Sayyid Irfan Ali Saab for answering those questions. I am going to, at the end, ask Rizwan Khalid to give his closing statement.
First of all, I have to say, Governor Saab, Murza Saab, and all the banking chiefs, thank you very much for coming and starting this new journey. Please do not be upset at all the hard questions that have been asked. We as Appna leaders are responsible to our membership. We have to do everything in our capacity to make sure our members are protected. So some of the questions that were, we were not playing hardball with you. We were just trying to protect our membership. And certainly we are interested. Overseas Pakistanis are entrenched in the future of Pakistan, and we certainly will be. I requested Murtaza Saab as well, personally, and I will request you that this conversation should continue. This should not be our first and only meeting. And I think we should meet up again as a follow-up and see if we have more questions and we have been able to answer some of the nitty-gritty. And hopefully this improves. Some of the overseas Pakistanis have been burnt in the past. So we are treading very carefully, but we are very enthusiastic. I'm very enthusiastic. I'm going to open up an account. We thank you all for coming. Murza Saab, Governor Saab, all the banks, Aurangzeb Saab, Irfan Nukul, Sajid Saab. So again, thank you very much. All the attendees, we've had floods of questions and hopefully we'll be able to get some of them to you. So again, thank you very much. Good evening and Assalamu alaikum.
I will give the last word to Dr. Bakir.
Thank you, G. I don't have much to add. I'm very delighted with how this conversation has gone. It's the beginning. Just at the end of the day, remember, it's an initiative to connect the diaspora to Pakistan. And once that connection is established, it will be there for years. So thank you for your time, and we are looking forward to further interactions.
Thank you very much. This concludes our webinar. Thank you everyone for joining. Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.